Okay. So, everybody, I'd like to introduce Dr. Bobby FIndley. A couple of distinctions. He was one of the earliest graduates of Life University, graduated Life at 21 years of age. He was also another distinction. He was voted the contest winner for the Mile High Doctor speaker in 2024. So he was speaking at Mile High early last year, and he basically had to compete to get that position because he had to submit something. But Bob has an interesting story. I met him first at New Beginnings. I was very intrigued with what he was sharing at that day. And I'm going to ask him to start by sharing his story because it's quite an interesting story. And Bob, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, sir. I should go ahead and apologize if you can't understand me because I'm born and raised in South Carolina. So I understand that gives me an accent that you may not can gel with. But if I need to clarify something, please let me know. I'm really honored to be here this evening. I thought I would talk with you about several things that happened to me when I was 5 years old that kind of just cemented the trajectory of my life. This first one, I don't know why it happened, but when I was 5 years old, I met this talking bear. And of all the people in the entire country that this bear could have selected, he chose me. And to this day, I don't know why, but this bear challenged me and gave me a mission. And I alone, of all the people in the country, was charged with protecting us from forest fires. And as I said, I don't know why, but I took that seriously. And to this day, no forest fires have I been responsible for. I tell you that story to tell you, just like I don't know why that bear selected me, I don't really know why I'm here with you this evening, but I'm honored to be, and hopefully Innate will help deliver a message. The other two
Little
things that
housekeeping.
happened to
Hold on
me.
a second, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Anybody who is not speaking, please mute your phone. There's too much background noise. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, the other couple of things that happened to me when I was 5 years old, um, I hope you can relate to. Number one, I began making money in chiropractic at 5 years of age. My father was a chiropractor. I was born into it, received my first adjustment when I was 30 minutes old. All I really knew was the chiropractic lifestyle. When I was 5, my little hometown weekly newspaper put a front page article on the paper featuring me. Apparently, nobody was growing a big record breaking watermelon that week. So they put me on the front page because of the interesting way that I said the Pledge of Allegiance. Because I said it, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and adjustments for all. I didn't understand that that was unique. My parents thought it was cute, but that's just the words that I knew. And as when I was 5, I would go to my dad's office. Some of you are old enough to remember the classic adjusting table. It's a Zenith high-low. It had a motor in the bottom with the hydraulics, and if you had a good workhorse, that motor leaked oil. So there was a little pool of oil on the base of the high-low. And if you're 5 years old, you can stick your fingers down between the hydraulics and pull the greasy change out that would fall out of people's pockets when they were on their side getting a side posture adjustment. So I really liked what I knew about chiropractic because you just made money really easy. And so that kind of set the tone for the career that I wanted. I just don't remember ever wanting to do anything but chiropractic. I'm sure I'm not the only person on the line that has that story. As John said, because of that, I was hyper focused on what I wanted to do. Um, was able to skip ninth grade. I got to Life College early. I graduated early and started this great career, this fulfilled this dream that I had always had. And about 3 months into it, I realized, wow, I'm really doing a sorry job at this. I'm struggling to pay my bills. What is going on? And that's when I had this crisis of conscience. I had to actually decide, did I always really want to be a chiropractor, or was I just born into that family. And if you've ever heard Dr. Sid talk about Billy Graham, his tree stump prayer, I kind of had to make that same decision. I kind of had to decide, am I really going to accept chiropractic in full faith? Or am I just doing it because my dad did it? Am I just doing it because it was cool and it was just the easy thing to do? And my tree stump prayer crisis of conscience lasted about 5 years. That's how long I struggled. So if there's any wisdom at all that I have to say tonight, it is basically don't do what I did. I did end up building the practice of my dreams, and I had an incredible career. But those first 5 years, I wish I had listened to people smarter than me because, frankly, I struggled. I'm the guy that went through clinic at Life wearing this little badge on my clinic jacket that had a picture of a blender with a big red X across it. No mixers. I was that guy. I just knew I had a purpose. I knew what I believed, and I was just really kind of a jerk about it. And so I got out. I'm struggling in practice. And I'll never forget this day. One day, my CA walks to the back and says, "Hey, Dr. Finley, there's a retired chiropractor passing by. I'm on Highway 17 in Myrtle Beach, just, 100,000 cars a day passing by my front door." And she says, "This retired chiropractor stopped by. He's got some used equipment in his car. He wondered if you're interested in it at a good price." I wasn't very busy. I walked outside to see what he had going on. It was an old beat up Toyota Camry, and the trunk was open because of this big piece of equipment in it. And he had this big, shiny stainless steel square box. For all I knew, it was like a fish aquarium without glass, but it turned out to be a hydrocollator. I didn't know exactly what that was, but I knew you could put water in it, you could heat it up, and you could have heating pads. And so this guy that wore the no mixer badge on his clinic jacket just a few years earlier woke up that day thinking I was a straight chiropractor, and that afternoon I was putting heating pads on patients' low back. And I did that, messed around with that for a few months, but in my mind, I was still a straight chiropractor practicing pure chiropractic because I wasn't charging people to lay that ice pack on them. But deep down inside, I think somewhere it was scratching an itch that I didn't know I had to be a real doctor. And I did that for about 3 months. And I'll never forget one day reaching up just to scratch my eye. And if you've ever cried because you scratched your eye with a finger that had just been in biofreeze, then you know what I'm talking about. And that's what I did. And as I'm rubbing my eye with this biofreeze, I'm thinking, what in the heck am I doing? This is not what I believe. This is not what I signed up for. And so that afternoon, I got rid of the hydrocollator, but I still was kind of going through the motions. I still had not accepted chiropractic in full faith. And I'm probably 3.5 or 4 years into practice. I'm faking it. I'm putting on a good show, and I'm even going through the motions. But I was not fully embracing what I knew, and I was really going through all the motions. I had a huge green book collection. I was reading green books, but I had not fully accepted it. And I'll tell you when it happened for me. There's two different times, two phases to it, if you will. One, I was sitting in the Galleria Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia on a Friday night with about 2,000 other people. And Bobby Sotilli was speaking from the stage. He did not know me from the Man in the Moon, but he looks across the audience, and I'm not kidding. He looks directly at me and points his finger. And I don't remember anything else he said, but he said, "I've never known a roller table to restore someone's health." And that hit me in the soul because along with a hydrocollator, I had a roller table. Again, I was a straight chiropractor because I didn't charge people to lay on it. But he might as well have been talking to me alone in a room, never mind 1,999 other people there. And I literally started shaking, and I knew that I just was doing chiropractic wrong. I left the DE meeting after he finished talking, I went upstairs to my hotel room. I dialed my office. Back then, we didn't have voicemail, we had answering machines. And I left a message for my CA, Gina. And I said, Gina, this is Dr. Finley. It is Friday night. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. You won't hear this message until Monday morning. I want you to write a sign and tape it to the roller table that says, this does not work. And I don't want you to put anybody on it that day. And when I arrive at the office on Monday, if I tell you anything different, if I say, forget the voicemail and let me put somebody on the table, and if you allow that, then just know that you're fired because I need help. We're not going to use it anymore, and I need you to help me keep up with that commitment. Well, sure enough, Monday comes, we never use it again. Get rid of it. I don't sell it. I think I give it away. I just didn't want anything to do with it. That was the start of me figuring out that I didn't know what I was doing in the very thing that I had wanted to do my whole life. Remember, I'm the guy with liberty and adjustments for all. So I didn't miss another DE. I started finding myself some mentors. I started hanging around people that I wanted to be like, and those tended to be a lot of the new beginnings in the DE doctors. That caused me to start hanging out a lot with Jim Sigafus, and he was one of my mentors. And I attended a lot of his seminars, spent a lot of time eating breakfast with him in York, Pennsylvania, really just trying to learn the way the guy thinks. I heard him from stage plenty, but I wanted to learn just how he thinks when he's off stage. I wanted some of that juju to rub off on me. And I think it did. And one night in particular, Sigafus says, Bobby, I have figured out what your practice struggles are. I want you to call me this evening after you leave your office, and I'm going to tell you what I think you need to do in your practice. And you can only imagine. I was on cloud nine all day here. Sigafus is going to talk to just me about just my practice. He's figured out what I need to change. I couldn't eat dinner. I just couldn't wait for that time to get here. So that night I get to the phone. I've got a pen and paper ready. And he says, Bobby, write this down. Here's what you need to do for your practice. I think you need to quit your practice and hire yourself out as a CA. Now, you can imagine if chiropractic is all you've ever wanted to do, and your mentor is Sigafus, and Sigafus tells you to quit being a chiropractor, you can imagine the thoughts I was having. I was confused, I was angry, I was disappointed, I was shocked, I was mad, I was embarrassed. I don't really know what all I was thinking, except I didn't know what to think and I didn't know what to say. So finally, I blurted out something like, well, what do you mean? And Sigafus told me that all I ever talk about are my practice problems. And that if I wanted to be a chiropractor, I needed to educate and adjust patients and nothing else. Everything else could be done by my CA. I started asking a series of questions, all of which proved his point. What about the ICD-9 codes? What about headrest paper? I need more x-ray film. Should I raise my prices? Should I change my dates? And he continued to say, either be a CA or be a chiropractor. But if you want to be a chiropractor, simply educate and adjust and nothing else. I have friends who have done that their entire career. George Lubertazzo is one of them. He has patients that he doesn't even know their name. He just knows their listings. But I micromanaged everything, and it was so hard for me to give that up. But finally, I was able to, and I did that. My turning point was when Sigafus said I need to start educating. So I began giving health talks again in my practice. I had done that earlier in my career. I really resented it. I did them on Tuesday nights. It made me an hour late getting home for dinner. I had 3 young children at the time. I was going through the motions. I couldn't get people to bring their spouse. I was basically extorting patients to show up by giving them some type discount. I really resented that I was having to do it. But I made a commitment to Sigafus that I would start educating people. And I did. And I wish I could tell you that it all changed 1 week later. It didn't. It was a process for me. But I eventually got to the point where I enjoyed my conversations. I felt like I was sharing chiropractic. I still resented it a little bit. It was just part of the job, but I was doing it because Sigafus told me to. And then there was that one night, it's 6:15 and nobody's in the waiting room. I have 16 chairs set up. There's nobody there. We did have people scheduled for it. I'm looking at my CA asking where they are. Did you call them? Did you remind them? She said she did, and there's nobody there. We waited 3 or 4 minutes later, and still nobody showed up. So finally, I pulled the plug. I told her she could leave. As I shut off the lights, I walked out the back door, and I get about halfway across my parking lot, headed toward my truck, and I get this little thought flash, T-H-O-T, thought flash. You know what I'm talking about. And it said I should go back in and give my talk. And I stopped in my parking lot and wrestled with myself. It seemed like for an eternity. It might have been 2 or 3 seconds. How silly would that be to go back in and talk? I've got the opportunity through no fault of my own. I can get home early, have dinner with my family. I took another couple of steps toward my truck, and that feeling just wouldn't go away. I'm supposed to turn around and go back into my office. So I did. I was kind of glad that no one was watching, but I went back in, I turned on the lights, I went back to my adjusting area, and standing in front of more than a dozen chairs, I began giving my chiropractic lay lectures, a 33-minute talk. I'd really whittled it down to the essentials. And for a minute and a half, it felt stupid and silly. But after about 2 minutes, I really got into it. And I believe I gave one of the greatest talks ever given in the history of chiropractic, but nobody heard it except for me. And that was the night, looking back, that I would tell you I became a member of the chiropractic profession. I had been a chiropractor since I was 21 years old. But just because you're a chiropractor and have a diploma and even have a license, I don't think it means you're part of the chiropractic profession. We think of the chiropractic profession as being the noun, the field of work involving years of specialized study and special skills. We don't usually think of the chiropractic profession as the verb, the act of openly declaring and publicly professing a strongly held belief. I had not been professing chiropractic, even though I had spent 5 years practicing chiropractic. And that was a turning point in my life and in my practice. I quit being a CA. I became a chiropractor, but I became more than a chiropractor, and I became a chiropractic professional. After that, my health talks just took off like a wildfire. You could not be a patient in my practice after that without bringing your spouse to a health talk. It was a hard rule, just like being x-rayed was. Doesn't mean I'm angry at you. I would even help you find another chiropractor. But if you were going to be a chiropractor in my practice after that, you had to attend my health talk because I was going to profess chiropractic. Practice got so simple then for the next 20 years of practice. I just wish somebody had knocked that into my thick skull when I first got out of school, or how great it would have been if they had taught me that while I was in school. And I know some of you got it early. I wish I had of. I should have. I was in chiropractic my whole life, but for whatever reason, I didn't. So my challenge today is I regularly meet chiropractors, and I have this burden that chiropractors quit being chiropractors and become chiropractic professionals. And it's a catchy tagline, but it means so much more. It doesn't just mean give a talk one Tuesday a week to your patients and require them to come. It means sell out just the way Billy Graham did, and when Dr. Sid told that story, It means fully sell out to the principle of chiropractic. When people see me walking down the road, walking down the hall, they don't think he's coming to talk to me about the game last night, or he's coming to talk to me about his new car, or he's coming to talk to me about essential oils or physical therapy or anything else. They see me now and they think he's going to ask me when the last time I had my atlas checked. And that is what I think we should be doing. We should be professing chiropractic. I give a talk. So I retired when I was 47 after 25 years of practice. I was busy raising 5 children. We bought a farm in the countryside in Virginia, a 300-year-old former wheat plantation. We had a 4 diamond restaurant, a wedding venue, 13-room country inn, horses, alpacas, goats, sheep, lamb. I wanted to raise my children in the country. I wanted them to work hard. We did, and we had a great time. But as soon as the last one got out of college, I was hungry to get back into chiropractic, and that's when I came to Sherman College. I've been on faculty here for about 2 years, and I just have this burden that we not graduate chiropractors, but we graduate chiropractic professionals. We have watched the osteopathic profession from a similar birth as chiropractic, and we've watched it basically implode as it was taken over by the medical profession. And I see us on a similar trajectory because any medical doctor can duplicate what we do with a couple of weekend seminars as far as the adjustment. But what they can't do is duplicate our philosophy and our understanding of that philosophy. But we have to teach people that. Every day in the clinic at Sherman College, I'm correcting students as they say, I want to take C2 or I want to go after C6. I'm going to do left ilium. And we don't take and we don't do and we don't go after, we adjust. And we only adjust vertebral subluxations. So, John, that's way more than you asked for, but that's kind of my
Bobby, that
story.
came right from your heart. That came right from your heart.
And
I really appreciate
I
it.
hope that, I mean, I don't
I
know
got
that there's
one
any
question for
questions.
you.
It's
I
just
got
my
one
story.
question for you.
Yes, sir.
From your position in the profession and what you've seen and your interaction with students, um, I would like to hear your thoughts on mentoring a young chiropractor. Besides teaching them to profess, what do you think they need to hear or experience?
So I think all of you all need to hear that the last few months of college, it's almost like they become unteachable. They see themselves as chiropractors and in essence, they start knowing it all. So I'd much rather talk to a student in third or fourth quarter than one about to graduate because they just won't listen. They don't have the ears to hear. Fast forward till the Monday after graduation, and now they're wishing they had paid attention to all the wisdom that they had splintered them on campus. Think about who I work with. I work with Armand Rossi, one of the premier pediatric chiropractors in the world. I work with Chris Kent. I work with Bill Decken. I work with amazing chiropractors, and the students will go pay $250 for a weekend seminar from somebody that graduated chiropractic college 3 years ago. So it's not until that Monday after graduation or that Monday after going into practice that suddenly they realize what they don't know. That's when they need mentors. That's when they need chiropractors that have been there and done that and that can guide them through that. As I see students about to graduate and I try to have a conversation with them about what they're going to do or where they're going to associate, all they're talking about is the compensation package. They want to know this person will start me off at this, but they'll pay 40% of the bonus, or this person will pay 60% of the bonus. What they need to hear is find the chiropractor who's living the life you want to live. Find the chiropractor who's been married to the same spouse for 30 years. Find the chiropractor who's got the practice you want, not the technique you want, but the practice you want, who's seeing the ideal patients that you want to take care of. Do anything you can to be in their presence for 6 months. I don't care if they don't pay you and you have to deliver pizzas at night. Just be in their practice. And they can't find you. They can't find us because they're seeing the ads for the young people who are working them like dogs and just profiting off the back of them. And they need to find people like us that will take them under our wing, teach them how to manage a case, teach them how to teach patients chiropractic. We have this amazing philosophy. We understand that the power that made the body heals the body. And as we teach people that and change their lives, that's way more powerful than any compensation package they're going to have, shiny new tables, a big office with their diploma hanging on the wall. John, it's crucial that we get before them. They can't find you, but golly, they need to find you.
Bob, that was absolutely amazing. I look forward to sitting with you again at New Beginnings or some other place. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute. Give us your thoughts, your feedback. This was dripping with really powerful stuff that a lot of people need to hear. Please unmute yourself. Don't everybody jump in at once. Go ahead.
Hey, Bob, your story was great. It definitely touched home. I mean, we all went through the process of becoming principal chiropractors, even though we knew what we were doing and adjusting, but we didn't know how to deliver the goods. So the story was very real for me.
Well, thanks for letting me share. It's just mine, but it's all mine. But thanks.
And
Ryan, Jeff,
Yeah, Bob.
Barry.
Bob, thank you so much for the talk. Thanks for your time. I love the epiphany or the realization that you came to. It's necessary growth for all of us. And yeah, I can remember my epiphany. Similar story. So I appreciated hearing it from someone else.
Well, I'm honored to be with you guys tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. We know you're right on point with everything as we expect from you. And when you talked a little bit about the state of chiropractic and being a metapractor of sorts at one point, even though you were still a straight chiropractor, I can't help just kind of touching a little bit. I don't know how many of you knew about the House Bill 500 in Montana. I'm sure Bobby did.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
It failed by one vote, causing chiropractors in Montana to be able to allow to prescribe medications and who knows what after that. Very scary, the underworld of our politics and our profession. And, us as the old guard here, we need to keep a watch on that stuff, as well as try to help bring along our future chiropractors. And it's a balancing act of getting both ends taken care of, but we need to be responsible for that. And thanks for all you do down there at Sherman, Bobby, and all the people that you work with. We appreciate it.
Jeff, that was scary, and even scarier to me, only 3 chiropractic colleges in America went on record as being against that. Where were the other dozen?
Scary.
Wow.
Bobby, thank you for your time and sharing. You brought me back to my upbringing. Second generation, had the same change finding stories. And it was really awesome. And the students are blessed to have you as a resource at Sherman. Thank you for all you're doing, and thanks for your time.
Well, it's really kind of you. The big regret I have was that I didn't start my career 39 years ago planning to end it at a chiropractic college. I should have. I pictured myself, falling dead over a patient when I was 90 years old, and the students need us too much. And I'm just having a blast working with them. I don't understand their language. I don't understand their lack of work ethic. They don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about a Rolodex or an answering machine. But that's all right. The message is getting through.
That's
But
awesome.
they need to hear this because there are very few places they're getting it. And I will tell you, Sherman College is one of them. So I'm honored to be working with them. And like I said, I'm honored share a little bit of my story with you guys tonight.
That's what,
And they're blessed to have you.
Great story.
Thanks, brother.
cool.
I love the story about Sisyphus. He could be a man of few words sometimes, but very pointed.
He was very powerful, and it was very hurtful, and it's exactly what I needed. It literally turned my career around. So it was exactly on point. He had that way about him.
Man, he was direct as a heart attack, that guy. I heard him tell, Bobby, I heard him tell that story about, hey, man, stop. He says, you should be a CA.
I don't think I was the only one at all. I know others. Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome. Really was. That's great.
Bobby, next time we get together, I'm going to share. You talked about that you were sitting in an audience of 2,000 people, and Bob Satilli spoke directly to you. My epiphanies happened the same way, and the last one was
Cool.
with Chuck Ribley, so I'll share that one with you the next time I see you.
Oh yeah, love to hear that. Love to hear that. We've all got a story. We just have to tell it. We've got to, it's so easy to have our practice and serve our practice and forget to serve our people.
Right.
And you can get away with that for a long time. I did, but we really need to be serving our people.
Absolutely.
That's Kevin Jackson and I were talking about that. I think it was just yesterday about that's one of the things with the students that we need to instill back in them is the joy of the service to the people, not the joy of selling and making money. And they need to get back into the work ethic mindset, go into the office. You're there for a purpose. It's important. It's vital to humanity, and get that big picture back again. And that's what we seem to have lost.
You're right,
There's
Jeff.
a lot of sharing going on here tonight.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Dave, I think you were trying to speak a couple of times there.
No, listen, it was awesome. I really appreciate that talk. It definitely similar experiences as a lot of us, and it's great hearing it and to see somebody who's gone so far is pretty cool. I thank you for your time and sharing that.
Y'all come see us in South Carolina,
Got to
Absolutely.
make a trip down.
or
All
let
right.
us send a student up to you for a quarter. Let them their last quarter here. They can do a off-site kind of a preceptorship thing, and let us send a student.
We're fighting that here in New York. The New York bill, the New York law actually prevents that from happening. The New York law basically says that you have to be a student in a chiropractic program in New York, and New York, the schools control who is
Mm.
a preceptor.
Right.
So
We're
we're trying to
working
break
on
that
it.
out.
Crazy.
We're working on it.
Now ours are not adjusting. We don't allow that currently. So it's in fact too many chiropractors treat it like free help. But
Well,
It-
I think the question is, can the student get credit for being in your office? And right now, that can't happen in New York. We would
Gotcha.
like that. I've had students in my office, but they can't get any credit for it.
Gotcha. Well, when y'all figure it out, let us know. We've got some to send.
You're awesome.
That'd be great.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thanks so much for speaking. I'm glad that I came on. I wanted to know, what would you, well, first of all, I think there needs to be a program for actual present chiropractors. And maybe Sherman College can come up with it for people that really didn't learn how to become a chiropractor, just like you said you had that experience. And you were the son of a chiropractor. I personally have met somebody that was the daughter of a chiropractor, and she actually left chiropractic and is no longer practicing. So I wonder what your advice to chiropractors that are thinking of leaving the profession.
Well, I would wonder, did they ever get in the profession in the first place? Have they ever really seen the power of an adjustment? So that'd be my first question, because if you haven't, there's a confidence that we have in order to make a minute and a half adjustment with someone and let them walk out of your office not feeling any better or maybe feeling worse. You got to have an incredible amount of faith in that power in the body to do what it does. And that just instills a confidence in us that carries throughout our entire life. A good friend of Jeff Wax, George Lubertazzo, is really the one that taught me how to attract stuff. That's not what it's all about, but our entire friendship for 40 years, George would always say, Bobby, if you want a bigger car, you want a bigger house, just see more people. It was never raise your price. It was never add more services. It was see more people. Do anything you want, just see more people. I don't know that a lot of chiropractors have ever experienced that. I don't know that they have faith in what our product is. I don't know if a lot of principled chiropractors can name a single principle. So that would be the first thing. This is not exactly what you asked, but we've got to get involved in politics in order to get the CCE out of the schools. I spend so much time trying to unteach students that they learned in the other building in order to pass national boards. And I have to unteach them that in order to teach them how to be a chiropractor. And that's the long game, but we've got to do it. We've got to get involved in politics. And I'll remind you that politics is one branch of philosophy. So you can't call yourself a philosophical chiropractor and not be involved in politics. And as we just saw in Montana, the enemy is circling us. We've got to be vigilant about it.
True.
I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. You obviously have a lot to process after this. There's a lot of sharing back and forth. Bobby, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for
I
the
want to wish everybody a great
opportunity.
night.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
night,
Bobby.
guys.
Blessings to
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.